Hey guys, my name's Austin. I play in the band Outrun the Sunlight. Today I'm going to show you how to make the ultimate metal guitar tone using any device. The other day we were live streaming on our Twitch channel and somebody asked me how do I get my guitar tone, and so I did a very stream of consciousness crash course in how to actually make a guitar tone from scratch. If you want to get the tone I just used in the clip you heard, you can head to the link down below, outrunthesunlight.gumroad.com. If not, I'm going to show you how to make it yourself. All right, let's go. Everyone get your notepad ready? I'll tell you how to get a good tone, okay? I'll tell you right now. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what you use at all. You can use a Helix. You can use a pod Kemper, an Axe Effects. You could use the Neural DSP stuff. This all applies across the board. First thing you want to do, plug your guitar in. Second thing you want to do, it's going to hit a compressor. Compressors have thresholds and ratios. I set my ratio either 4:1 or 6:1. I set it usually 6:1 on clean settings and 4:1 on distorted and lead settings. I want more compression out of a clean tone because the amp blocks and the distortions are going to compress it anyways. Then on the compressor, you're going to take the threshold knob and then you're going to look, there'll be a 0 at the top of the meter. At the bottom, there'll be like a minus whatever, and the meter will move every time you play the guitar. And when you're playing, you want the meter to move to about -3 to 4, depending on your preference. Next thing you want to do, if you're someone like me who enjoys octaves in guitars, no octave, after your compressor is where you're going to put the octave. Guitar, compressor, octave. The blend of your octave is up to you. You can do an octave up, you can do an octave down, you can do both at the same time. It sounds kind of like that. So the next thing you're going to put in your chain is a distortion. This can be usually an overdrive. If you have a Line 6 device or something similar, there's usually something called a Horizon Devices, Misha Mansour's version of a tube screamer. He's put a really fast gate in it, and he's put an attack knob. What you do on an overdrive is you set the distortion almost all the way off, and you turn the level all the way up. If it has a tone knob, you can keep it in the middle. You can go a little more treble, a little more bass, depending on your preference. You got to play around with it to see what you like. I tend to keep mine somewhere on the bass side, the darker side, because there's a lot of high-end and high gain amps, and I'm trying to knock it out as I go through. In your input of your guitar, you should have an option for a gate. I set my gate based on the kind of tone I have. If I have a distorted tone, my input gate signal is somewhere between -40 and -48. If I have a lead tone, it's -50. If it's a clean tone, it's -50 to -60 because I don't want a lot of the gate hitting the clean sound. So that's important to note that I have the first thing that my guitar hits is actually a gate. Then it hits a compressor. Then it hits an optional octave, depending on the part of the song. Then it hits the overdrive. Everyone following so far? Everyone following? Everyone following? Good? No? Bad? Bad instruction? Good instruction? Next thing you're going to do is you're going to have your amp block. The amp is up to you. Tone is not really in the amp. It's in the cabinet. There's an amp inside the Helix called an archetype lead. It's similar to a Soldano or a Mesa Boogie. Any of those kind of high gain amps or a Panama amp. Err on the side of less distortion. I turn my amps on my Helix to like 4 distortion out of 10. You also want to err on the side of like less treble, especially in a live setting. A loud setting, treble just hurts. It hurts a lot. So I usually keep my treble around noon, and then my mids, I sometimes scoop them a little bit, not too much. I usually take a fair amount of bass out, so maybe my bass is like 3. I might add a little bit of presence just for some like little high-end sparkle. I keep the channel volume at like a reasonable mid-range thing, and that just sort of is how it sits there. I don't do much to the amp. A lot of the amps, the way they come stock, is pretty great sounding already. You just got to tweak it based on your guitar and your pickups. Everyone following? Wow. So the next thing after your amp block is your cabinet block. Your cab block is where your tone is. There's a lot of great IRs out there. I would consider trying to find a bunch of free ones. I would consider buying some if you know of a guitar player that you really like that's made their own. I would consider trying out some that are in the cab blocks that come inside of the unit. I have my own custom ones that I've either purchased and then combined with other ones. I don't really feel comfortable selling or giving mine away because I didn't technically make them. I'll tell you, I use Ackles 412. I use a Celestion dark cabinet a lot, and I use an Eris Effects EVH cab a lot. I think the EVH is really good. Oh my god, the EVH is good for crunches. The Tesseract one is really good for obviously distortion and lead, and the Celestian one has like a really great like mid range. So I kind of mix a little bit of that into everything, so it like doesn't scoop the sound. Here's one other thing I'm going to tell you that's like a real secret. I think after your cab is when you'd want to put any kind of EQ. The EQ I use inside of line 6, they have a low and a high cut built into the cabinet. I cut at 150 hertz, gone. Anything below that. I also cut everything above 13K, gone, on every single tone. It's just information that is not useful to your listener. Unless you're a solo artist and you really want to get the whole gamut, if you're going to play in a band, that information is useless. And it really just disrupts the overall mix. Everyone following? Everyone taking notes? Good? After the cab block is where you want to put an equalizer. I run a dual system is a thing. I'm not going to go into that, but I run a system where what I hear in my ears on stage is different than what comes out of my cab. So I actually have an equalizer that hits my ears, and the one that hits the cab, I just EQ using my stage amp, which is a Seymour Duncan Powerstage 700. It's just got a basic bass, mid, treble EQ on it, and that's about it. When you're shaping out EQ in a guitar tone, I found some tricks that kind of work across the board. 4K in a distortion tone. You know, you scoop a little bit of it out. That's where a lot of the annoying hiss is from in a guitar. A lot of the scratchy sound is in 4K. If you feel like you want some more presence from your guitar, boost between 1.2 and 1.5. You can also cut out 200 or 250. It'll get rid of muddiness. Cut out 400, you'll get rid of boxiness. Define boxy. Honestly, it sounds like if you put your head in a box and you made a sound, it sounds like it's in a box, like literally in a box. I would say experiment with it, like take an EQ inside of a DAW and just go to 400 and just move that frequency up and down with like a rather wide Q, and you'll hear what I mean. 400 is really good for like bass guitar, but not great for every other. Pretty much every other instrument does not need 400. After that, after my EQ, after all that stuff you guys just hear me talk about, I will put a volume pedal because I want my volume pedal to be before my effects. I want my effects to trail when I lower the volume of my guitar. I don't want them to be affected by my volume pedal. So after the volume pedal, I go modulation, which could be stereo chorus or phase or whatever, depends on what I'm doing. And then I usually always have 2 delays. One is usually in a quarter or dotted eighth. A lot of my cleans are eighths. A lot of my leads are fourths. And then after that, I have a half speed delay at a lower mix. So like I'll have a ping pong delay at like a half note. It just helps creates more dimension. After that is the reverb block. I like plate reverb a lot for most of what I do. Sometimes I'll do a hall reverb, but plate is usually what I go for. Usually like stocks plate settings are really decent. That's pretty much it. Sometimes I'll throw a looper on there if I'm feeling saucy. Some extra tricks you can try, like you want some extra pizzazz. Throwing modulation and delay in front of your overdrives. So like in the chain, it would go guitar, gate, compressor, octave. Then normally it would go overdrive, amp. In the middle, try sticking a quarter note delay. You'll get that post-rock sound. You hear that? Hear that the delay is distorted. That's the sound of a delay in front of an amplifier. I've got songs where like I'll put like a big flanger in front of the amp, and it makes like that sound, but it's being distorted at the same time, and that sounds really cool. Other tricks you can try: octave up on cleans, like a tasteful amount of it is really cool. So like this is my clean tone for Spirit, just out the box. Octave up turned off. Just like that. And that's a dotted eighth delay plus a quarter note delay after it. So that's pretty much all my tone secrets. My amp and my cabs switch based on the tone. So like, you know, my clean tone is a different amplifier than my distortion tone. Crunch, I always have a lower gain and a higher compression. Versus if you watch me play, I like to use this on my guitar. I like to use the 5-way switch on my guitar a lot. I find it very useful. I've sort of mapped out in my head where I'm going to use certain pickup positions in the songs. I get a lot out of this. So I'm also constantly messing with 5-way switch. Let me just I'll do something fun for you guys. I'm going to quickly walk you through the tones I use in Animal, and then you can sort of hear them. So the first tone in Animal, the new song, is this clean thing with, it's got an octave up, an octave down, and a stereo chorus. It sounds like this. The song's in 5. And the lead tone is pretty standard. That's middle pickup position. And then for like the ending lead, so that's bridge pickup. The rhythm tone is pretty fun, very genty. And then it's the fun thing in the bridge. I don't play it, Ken plays it, but it's the octave down and the octave up. There's the crunch sound. So that's like more of a pleiny sound, honestly. So here it all is in context. Now that you sort of know what I'm doing, here's Animal again. For those just joining, Animal comes out tomorrow. This is a new song. Enjoy. Cool. Thanks for watching. The song I was about to play is called Animal. It was in the top corner of the screen. It's our new song that we just dropped. If you have questions at all about anything I said in the video, or if you want more clarification on something, leave me a comment. I will 100% respond to it. I want everyone to be able to have a good tone and have something that is just, they feel really good when they play. And if you want to get the tone that I talked about in the video, the link is below. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video.